The negotiation venue was chosen carefully. Not the council headquarters where humanity had been rejected so many times. Not Earth, which would seem like humanity was demanding surrender. Instead, they met aboard the diplomatic vessel where everything had started. Commander Tae-young's ship, the one that had carried Ambassador Minho to his death. The ship had been cleaned and repaired. The corridor where Minho died now held a simple memorial. A plaque with his name and the words, "He died trying to make peace." Every council representative who came aboard had to pass that memorial. Tae-young made sure of it. Dr. Hana Choi led the human delegation. She sat at the negotiation table wearing the same black dress she had worn when recording the final broadcast. Beside her sat Admiral Soo-jin Lee in full military uniform. Behind them stood the captains of humanity's most powerful warships, a silent reminder of the force backing humanity's words. The council sent 12 representatives, one from each member species. The Kelhari elder led them. The Vrelic sent a new representative, a younger leader who had opposed the war. The former supreme leader was in a human prison cell awaiting trial. "We are here to discuss peace," the Kelhari elder began. "The council acknowledges that mistakes were made. Mistakes. Such a small word for murder and genocide and 50 years of humiliation." Hana felt anger rise in her chest but kept her voice calm. "The council didn't make mistakes," she said. "The council committed crimes. You hired mercenaries to destroy our colonies. You murdered our ambassador. You rejected every attempt at peace. You tried to exterminate us." The room fell silent. Several council members looked uncomfortable. The Vrelic's representative stared at the table. "You're right," the Kelhari elder said quietly. "We did those things. Not all of us supported these actions, but we allowed them to happen. For that, we offer our deepest apologies." "Apologies aren't enough," Admiral Soo-jin said. "Words don't bring back the dead. Words don't rebuild destroyed colonies. If you want peace, you need to offer more than words." The council had prepared for this. They offered membership in the council, full voting rights, trade agreements, access to galactic technology, reparations for the destroyed colonies, everything humanity had asked for 50 years ago. Hana listened to the offers and shook her head. "No." The council representatives looked shocked. "No?" one of them repeated. "You reject our offer?" "We reject returning to the same system that failed us," Hana explained. "The council is broken. It allowed powerful species to abuse weaker ones. It permitted war crimes and called them accidents. We won't join that system. We want something better." She pulled out a data pad and projected a hologram over the table. It showed a new charter, a new set of laws, a new way of organizing galactic civilization. "This is our offer," Hana said. "A new galactic charter based on equality and justice. Every species has equal representation, regardless of size or power. War crimes will be prosecuted by an independent tribunal. Species sovereignty is absolute. No more secret attacks. No more hidden agendas. No more powerful species bullying weaker ones. You're asking us to rebuild galactic civilization," the Kelhari elder said. "Yes," Hana replied, "because the current system is rotten. It created this war. It will create more wars unless it changes." The council members talked among themselves. Some agreed. Others resisted. The representatives of the more powerful species didn't want to give up their authority. Admiral Soo-jin waited 5 minutes, then stood up. "We also want the Vrelic's leadership who planned the colony attacks to face trial. They will answer for their crimes in an open court where the galaxy can see justice done." The Vrelic's representative went pale. "That could destabilize our entire government." "Your government tried to commit genocide," Soo-jin replied coldly. "It should be destabilized." The Kelhari elder raised a hand for quiet. "These are significant demands. We need time to discuss them with our governments." "You have 24 hours, Soo-jin said. "After that, we resume hostilities. And this time we won't stop with defeating fleets. We'll start liberating planets from council control. Every species that wants freedom from council tyranny can have it. We'll make sure of it." It wasn't an idle threat. Humanity's fleets were positioned around key council worlds. They hadn't attacked civilians, but they could if they chose to. The council members knew it. The negotiations broke for the day. The council representatives returned to their ships to consult with their governments. The humans waited. Tae-young found Hana standing by Minho's memorial. She was touching the plaque gently. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" she asked quietly. "Demanding so much?" "We're doing what Minho would have wanted," Tae-young replied. "A galaxy where peace is real, not just a word." Where justice means something. Where humans are treated as equals. Hana nodded. I keep thinking about all the people who died. The colonists, the soldiers, even the Vrelix warriors. All of them died because the council couldn't accept us. They died because the council chose pride over justice, Tae-young corrected. That's not on us. 20 hours later, the council representatives returned. They looked tired. Several had clearly been arguing with their governments all night. The Kelhari elder spoke for all of them. We accept your terms. All of them. The charter will be rewritten. The tribunal will be established. The Vrelix leadership will face trial. Reparations will be paid. We will build the galaxy you described. Why? Hana asked. Why agree to everything now? The Kelhari elder gestured to the memorial plaque. Because Ambassador Minho was right. Because you were right. The old system was broken. You proved it by defeating us. You could have conquered us. You could have become the new tyrants. Instead, you offer justice. That's why we agree. Not because you force us, because you showed us something better. The formal signing took 3 days. Representatives from all 12 council species signed the new charter. Humanity signed as the 13th member. But this council was different. It had real equality, real accountability, real justice. The trials of the Vrelix leadership took 6 months. They were held on a neutral station with representatives from every species watching. The evidence was presented. The guilty were sentenced, some to prison, some to exile. The galaxy watched justice being done openly and fairly. The Vrelix people, seeing the truth of what their leaders had done, overthrew their government. They established a new democracy and asked to remain in the reformed council. The vote was close, but humanity argued for acceptance. Punish the guilty, not the innocent, Hana said. The Vrelix were allowed to stay. 5 years passed. The galaxy transformed. The new council actually worked. Species that had been enemies became partners. Technology was shared. Trade flourished. New colonies were established peacefully. Humanity became the council's most valued member. Not because they were feared, though they were, but because they had proven that strength and compassion could exist together. They had shown that power could be used for justice instead of conquest. Commander Tae-young, now Admiral Tae-young, stood at the memorial station built in orbit around Earth. It honored all who had died in the war. Ambassador Minho's name was at the top. Below were thousands of other names, colonists, soldiers, even Vrelix warriors, all victims of a war that should never have happened. They're calling it the last war, Hana said, standing beside him. She was now Earth's permanent representative to the council. They say this was the war that taught the galaxy how to make real peace. Maybe, Tae-young replied. Or maybe it just showed them what happens when they push humans too far. Hana smiled. Both can be true. At the spaceport below, Captain Jiho Park prepared for his new mission. He was now commanding a joint exploration vessel with a crew that was half human and half various alien species. They would explore uncharted space together, discovering new worlds as partners. His first officer was a young Vrelix named Kai, one of the generation that had grown up after the war. Kai approached Jiho nervously. Captain, I wanted to say something. My father fought in the war. He was one of the warriors who died at Teguk Prime. I just wanted you to know that I understand why humanity fought back. I don't blame you. Jiho looked at the young Vrelix and put a hand on his shoulder. My cousin died when your people attacked Station Hope. I don't blame you either. We both lost family because our leaders chose war over peace. We can honor them by being better than they were. Kai nodded gratefully. They walked to the ship together, preparing to explore the galaxy as friends instead of enemies. On the council station, a new monument was unveiled. It showed Ambassador Minho standing with his hand extended in peace. The inscription read, "He offered friendship until his last breath. Let us honor his memory by accepting the hands extended to us in peace." Below that, in a dozen languages, were the words from Hana's final broadcast. "We tried to be your friends. You chose to make us your enemies. We chose to show you mercy anyway." A final line had been added by the council members themselves. "Thank you for your mercy. We did not deserve it. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity would always extend a hand in friendship first. They would try every peaceful option before resorting to violence. They would show patience and restraint and dignity." The Vrelix Armada moved through space like an iron fist, 10,000 warships, the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. The Supreme Leader himself commanded from the flagship, a massive vessel called the Crimson Justice. He stood on the bridge surrounded by his generals, watching the path to human space on the holographic displays. "Soon," he said, his yellow eyes glowing with anticipation. "Soon we will crush these insects and restore Vrelic's honor." What he didn't know was that humanity had been watching his fleet for 3 weeks. Captain Unikang's stealth destroyers had followed the Vrelics from the moment they left their homeworld. 20 invisible ships tracking every movement, recording every communication, learning every detail about the enemy fleet. "They move in standard formation," Yuna reported to Admiral Sujin back on Earth. "Battleships in front, carriers in the center, support ships in the rear. They're not expecting any resistance until they reach our space." "Good," Sujin replied. "Let them keep thinking that. Stay with them. When they enter the trap, I want you ready." The trap was ambitious. Humanity had spent the last 2 weeks building something the galaxy had never seen before, FTL interdiction fields, technology that could force ships out of faster-than-light travel and keep them trapped in normal space. The Vrelics didn't know such technology was possible. They were about to find out. The Vrelics fleet reached the edge of human space and prepared to jump to FTL for their final approach. They would emerge right next to Earth's moon, overwhelming any defenses before humans could react. It was a perfect plan. The Supreme Leader gave the order. All ships jumped to Earth system. Glory to the Vrelics. 10,000 ships engaged their FTL drives. For a moment they existed in that strange space between normal reality and faster-than-light travel. Then the interdiction fields activated. The Vrelics fleet was ripped out of FTL like fish caught in a net. They found themselves scattered across a massive area of space, disoriented and separated. Before they could regroup, the swarms arrived. But these weren't the same drones that had destroyed the first Vrelics fleet. These were larger, smarter, and far more numerous. For every Vrelic ship, there were now 20,000 drones. 200 million intelligent weapons all working together with perfect coordination. The battle began immediately. The Vrelics tried to form defensive formations, but the interdiction fields kept them from jumping to FTL. They couldn't run. They could only fight. Commander Tae-young led the human fleet in person. He had 50 actual warships, each one crewed by experienced soldiers. They stayed back and let the drones do most of the work. But his ships targeted the Vrelics command and control vessels. "Focus fire on their flagship," he ordered. "If we can disable their leadership, the rest of the fleet will fall into chaos." The drones swarmed around the Crimson Justice like angry bees. The massive ship's shields held for a while, but not long enough. Electromagnetic pulses disabled the shields. Plasma cutters opened the armor. Antimatter missiles struck the engines. The Supreme Leader watched his fleet being torn apart. Everywhere he looked, Vrelic ships were dying. His warriors fought bravely, but they couldn't hit the fast-moving drones. For every drone they destroyed, 10 more took its place. "All ships retreat," he ordered desperately. "Get us out of here!" But there was nowhere to retreat to. The interdiction fields covered millions of kilometers. The Vrelics fleet was trapped in a killing field, and humanity was the hunter. Captain Unikang saw her moment. Her stealth destroyers had been hiding in the chaos, waiting for the perfect opportunity. Now she gave the order that would end the battle. "All ships activate quantum drives. Target their carrier group. Maximum speed." The stealth destroyers became visible for just a moment as they accelerated to incredible speeds. They crashed through the Vrelics carrier group like meteors through paper. The carriers held most of the fleet's fighter craft and support personnel. Without them, the Vrelics armada was crippled. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 8,000 Vrelic ships were disabled or destroyed. The remaining 2,000 surrendered. The Supreme Leader's flagship was a floating wreck, its crew evacuated into escape pods. Not a single human warship had been destroyed. Only 3,000 drones were lost. The victory was so complete, so overwhelming that it shocked the entire galaxy. But Admiral Sujin wasn't finished. "Phase 2, she ordered. "Send in the strike force." While the Vrelics armada had been gathering for their attack on Earth, humanity had been planning something else. Commander Tae-young took 100 of the fastest ships humanity had and jumped directly to the Vrelics' homeworld. They bypassed the trapped fleet entirely. They ignored the border defenses. They went straight to the heart of the Vrelics' dominion. The Vrelic's homeworld was called Crimson Sky. It was a red planet with purple oceans, home to 4 billion Vrelics. They had never been invaded. They had never been threatened. They believed their world was untouchable. Tae Young's fleet appeared in orbit without warning. The orbital defense stations tried to respond, but the human ships were too fast. Within an hour, every satellite was disabled. Every defense platform was destroyed. Every ship in orbit was drifting debris. The Vrelics on the planet watched their skies fill with human vessels. They waited for the bombardment. They waited for the death that surely would come. Instead, they received a transmission. Tae Young's face appeared on every screen across the planet. He looked tired but determined. "People of Crimson Sky," he said, "your leaders sent a fleet to destroy Earth. They came to kill our civilians. They came to burn our worlds. We have defeated that fleet. We have disabled your orbital defenses. We could destroy your planet right now. Every city, every settlement, every life." He paused, letting that sink in. "But we won't. Because unlike your leaders, we don't wage war on civilians. We didn't start this fight. We tried for 50 years to make peace. Your government responded with murder and aggression. That ends now." Another pause. "Your fleet is scattered. Your defenses are gone. Your leaders are prisoners. We could end the Vrelic species today. Instead, we're leaving. We want you to think about what that means. Think about who started this war. Think about who showed mercy." The transmission ended. Tae Young gave the order to withdraw. His fleet left Vrelic space as quickly as they had come. On the planet below, the Vrelics stared at their empty skies. Their greatest fleet had been destroyed. Their homeworld had been defenseless, and humanity had chosen not to attack them. The psychological impact was devastating. The Vrelics had always believed they were the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Now they knew that humanity could have wiped them out and chose not to. It was more humiliating than any military defeat. 5 more council species immediately declared neutrality. They wanted nothing to do with this war. The message was clear. Humanity wasn't fighting for conquest. They were fighting for survival. And they were very, very good at it. The Kelhari Confederacy, the oldest and wisest species in the Council, called for immediate negotiations. They reached out directly to Earth, bypassing the official Council channels. Admiral Sujin received the Kelhari ambassador in her office on Earth. The ambassador was an ancient being, looking almost like a tree made of crystal. He moved slowly and spoke carefully. "Your species has proven itself formidable," he said. "The Council made a mistake in rejecting you." "The Council made many mistakes," Sujin replied coldly. "They murdered our people. They humiliated our diplomats. They tried to exterminate us." "Yes," the Kelhari agreed. "And for that, many of us are ashamed." Not all Council members supported these actions. Some of us argued for accepting humanity. We were outvoted. "What do you want?" Sujin asked. "Peace," the Kelhari said simply. "Before this war destroys the entire galaxy. The Vrelics are broken but still dangerous. Other species are choosing sides. If this continues, it will become a galactic civil war. Billions will die." Sujin considered this. She had achieved her military objectives. Humanity had proven it could defend itself. They had shown the galaxy that humans were not to be trifled with. But how many more had to die? How many more battles had to be fought? "I'll bring your request to the Global Assembly," she said finally. "But understand this. We will not accept peace on the Council's terms. We will not go back to being rejected and humiliated. If there is to be peace, it will be on equal terms or not at all." The Kelhari bowed. "I would expect nothing less. Humanity has earned the right to dictate terms." News of the negotiations spread quickly. Across human space, people celebrated. They had won. They had proven themselves. They had forced the galaxy to respect them. But in his quarters on the command ship, Commander Tae Young didn't feel like celebrating. He thought about all the Vrelics who had died. He thought about Ambassador Minho. He thought about his own family lost years ago. War was easy. Peace was hard. The fighting might be over, but the real work was just beginning. Earth's Global Assembly building sat in the center of New Geneva, a massive structure built from steel and glass that reflected the morning sun. Inside, representatives from every nation and colony gathered in the main chamber. The room was packed. Everyone knew this vote would change everything. Admiral Sujin Lee stood at the central podium. She was a tall woman with silver hair pulled back in a tight bun, and eyes that had seen too many battles. She wore her uniform with pride, medals covering her chest. Each one represented a fight that humans had won while trying to be peaceful. Commander Tae-young sat in the front row next to Dr. Hana Choi. Hana's eyes were red from crying, but her jaw was set with determination. She had spent the last 3 days reviewing the evidence of the Council's betrayal. Every file made her angrier. For 50 years we have sought peace, Admiral Sujin said, her voice carrying through the silent chamber. We have offered friendship to species who treated us like animals. We have absorbed insults and attacks with dignity. We have buried our dead and asked only for a chance to prove ourselves. She pressed a button and a hologram appeared above the chamber. It showed Ambassador Minho's death. The push, the fall, the blood. Then it showed the security report calling it an accident. They murdered our ambassador, Sujin continued. They have been murdering our colonists for years. They have made it clear that humanity will never be welcome in their galaxy. Another hologram appeared showing maps of destroyed colonies. Station Hope, where 3,000 humans had died. New Jeju turned to ash. Teguk Prime attacked 6 times in 2 years. The list went on. We have a choice, Sujin said. We can accept this. We can withdraw to Earth and pretend the galaxy doesn't exist, or we can show them who we really are. A representative from the African Union stood up. You're asking us to go to war. I'm asking us to stop dying quietly, Sujin replied. I'm asking us to defend ourselves. I'm asking us to show the galaxy that peace is a choice we made, not a weakness they can exploit. She pressed another button. The hologram changed to show massive shipyards hidden in the asteroid belts. Thousands of ships under construction. Weapons platforms. Defense stations. Armies of robotic fighters. For 30 years we have been preparing for this moment, Sujin said. We hoped it would never come. We built this military in secret, praying we would never need it. But we knew the galaxy might not accept us. We knew we might have to fight for our right to exist. The chamber erupted in whispers. No one had known about Project Phoenix except the highest levels of military command. You've been building a war machine while we negotiated for peace? Someone shouted. We've been preparing to defend ourselves while hoping for peace, Sujin corrected. Hope is not a strategy. Peace is not guaranteed. We tried diplomacy. They responded with murder. The vote was called. Should humanity withdraw from all galactic treaties and prepare for conflict? The results came quickly. 89% voted yes. The other 11% abstained. Not a single vote for continued diplomacy. After the vote, Sujin met with her senior staff in a secure room beneath the assembly building. Tae-young was there, along with Captain Yuna Kang, a woman known for commanding the stealth destroyer fleet. Specialist Daehyun Shin sat at a computer terminal, his fingers flying across holographic keyboards. We need to send a message, Sujin said. Not just to the Council, but to every species in the galaxy. They need to understand what they've done. I'll write it, Hana said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. I spent 10 years trying to make peace. Let me tell them why it failed. She spent 12 hours writing. Tae-young brought her food that she didn't eat. Sujin checked on her twice. Hana wrote and rewrote, finding exactly the right words. When she finished, she called them all back. I want to record this myself, she said. They need to see a face. They need to know this comes from a real person, not just a government. They set up cameras in the assembly chamber. Hana stood at the same podium where Sujin had spoken. She wore a simple black dress. No makeup, no jewelry, just a tired woman who had tried her best and failed. Dae-hyun started recording. Hana looked into the camera and began to speak. My name is Dr. Hana Choi. I represent humanity. For 10 years I have worked for peace between Earth and the Galactic Council. I have written proposals. I have made presentations. I have begged you to give us a chance. Her voice was calm, almost sad. She listed every attempt humanity had made. Every offer of friendship. Every time the Council had said no. Every insult they had ignored. Every attack they had survived. We sent you our best scientists to share our knowledge. You rejected them. We offered you our art and music. You laughed at it. We asked only to be treated as equals. You treated us as vermin. Her voice began to harden. The sadness turned to something colder. You killed Ambassador Min Ho-yoon. You called it an accident. We know it was murder. You have been killing our colonists for years. You hired mercenaries to destroy our settlements. You did this while we begged you for peace. She paused, looking directly into the camera. We are done begging. We tried to be your friends. You chose to make us your enemies. We offered you peace. You replied with war. Now you will learn what happens when humanity stops trying to be civilized. Another pause. When she spoke again, her voice was like ice. This is the final broadcast from Earth. We are withdrawing from all galactic treaties. We are recalling all our diplomatic missions. We are declaring that any attack on human interests will be met with overwhelming force. We gave you every chance. You threw it away. If this is how you reply to peace, expect to regret war. The recording ended. Hana's hands were shaking. Taeyong put his arm around her shoulders. You did well, he said softly. Daehyun worked through the night. He created a transmission that couldn't be blocked or filtered. It would reach every device in galactic space, every computer, every communication system, every screen. No one could stop it or ignore it. It's ready, he said at dawn. One button and every species in the galaxy sees this. Admiral Sujin stood next to him. Do it. Daehyun pressed the button. The message went out faster than light, bouncing through relay stations and quantum networks. It appeared on the Council's main screens. It played on Vrelic's warships. It showed up on merchant vessels and scientific stations and colony worlds. Billions of beings across hundreds of planets saw Hana's face and heard her words. On the Council station, alarms began ringing. The Council members rushed to an emergency session. They tried to delete the message, but it kept coming back. Daehyun had made sure of that. The Vrelic's prime speaker stood before the Council, his yellow eyes blazing. This is a declaration of war. The humans dare to threaten us? They have cause. One of the Kelhari representatives said quietly. The Kelhari were an ancient species known for their wisdom. We have not treated them fairly. They are violent primitives, the Vrelic spat. They need to be reminded of their place. The Council argued for hours. Some wanted to apologize. Others wanted to ignore the message. The Vrelics wanted immediate military action. In the end, the Vrelics won the vote. They would send a fleet to attack Teguk Prime, humanity's nearest colony. They would crush this rebellion quickly and remind the humans that the Council controlled the galaxy. Back on Earth, Admiral Sujin received the intelligence reports. The Vrelics were mobilizing. They were coming. She looked at her senior staff and smiled. Good, let them come. It's time to show them who we are. Captain Yuna Kang checked her weapon systems. Specialist Daehyun Shin prepared the drone fleets. Commander Tae-young gathered his captains. The message had been sent. The die was cast. Humanity had tried peace for 50 years. Now they would try something else. Adrift in deep space. A human warship answered without delay. The human warship moved closer with impossible grace for something so massive. Captain Velrith watched through the viewscreen as maneuvering thrusters fired in perfect sequence, bringing the Indomitable alongside the brightness of dawn with centimeter precision. No wasted movement, no hesitation. It was the work of either a very experienced crew or a very confident one, and Velrith was not sure which possibility frightened him more. On the lower decks, Talvexian crew members evacuated civilians from the airlock sections as ordered. Mothers carried children who were too scared to walk. Elders moved slowly, their joints aching from the cold that crept through the failing ship. Everyone had heard the announcement. Everyone knew what was coming. The corridors filled with whispered prayers and quiet sobbing. Engineer Corvus stood near Airlock 3 with a damage control team, though what they were supposed to control he did not know. His hand shook as he gripped his tools. The younger engineers looked to him for leadership, but he had none to give. They were about to meet humans face to face. The stories filled his head. Violence. Savagery. A species that knew only war. A metallic clang echoed through the hull as the human ship's docking collar connected to the airlock. The sound was final and definite, like a prison door closing. The Talvexians backed away from the airlock door, giving it space, giving themselves space, as if a few extra meters would make any difference. Lights on the control panel shifted from red to amber to green. The airlock was pressurized, sealed, ready to open. Corvus felt his throat tighten. This was it. The door slid open with a hiss of equalizing air. What emerged from the human ship was not what anyone expected. Instead of armored warriors or savage beasts, they saw people in clean blue utility uniforms carrying heavy equipment cases. The humans were smaller than Talvexians, shorter by a full head, and they moved with quick efficiency rather than aggression. The lead human stopped just inside the airlock and raised one hand in what might have been a greeting. "Hello." the human said through a translation device clipped to his collar. His voice was rough but not unkind. I am Chief Engineer Tae Yang from the Indomitable. My team is here to help with your life support systems. Where do we need to go? Corvus stared. The human stared back with small forward-facing eyes, waiting patiently for an answer. Finally, the young Talvexian engineer managed to speak. This way. Follow me. The human engineering team moved through the corridors with practiced ease, their boots creating soft thuds against the deck that sounded nothing like marching soldiers. They carried portable life support units, emergency power cells, and toolkits that looked similar to Talvexian equipment, but more compact. When they encountered frightened civilians pressed against the walls, they simply nodded politely and kept moving. Tai Yang examined the failing life support systems and grunted. Bad, but not impossible. We will fix this. He turned to Corvus. You have atmospheric scrubbers on this deck? Yes, but they are offline. Show me. They worked side by side, human and Talvexian, connecting portable units to existing systems. Tai Yang explained what he was doing in simple terms, using hand signals when words failed. His team knew their jobs without being told, moving in synchronized silence that spoke of long practice together. Within 20 minutes, fresh air began flowing through the ventilation system. Within 40 minutes, the temperature started to rise. On the bridge, Captain Velrith received reports from all sections. More human teams had boarded. Medical personnel were setting up a treatment station in the main cargo bay. Marines in light combat gear were posted at key corridors, not to threaten but to maintain order and help direct traffic. And still no violence, no demands, no signs of the monsters from the stories. The comm system activated. Captain Velrith, this is Captain Hyunwoo. May I come aboard to speak with you? Velrith felt his crew watching him, waiting for his decision. Yes, you may come aboard. 10 minutes later, the human commander arrived on the bridge with only one escort. Captain Hyunwoo was a lean man with short dark hair turning gray at the temples. He wore a simple uniform with minimal decoration. When he saw Velrith, he brought his right hand to his forehead in a crisp salute before extending that same hand forward. Captain Velrith, it is good to meet you, though I wish it were under better circumstances. Velrith reached out carefully with one of his own hands and grasped the human's hand. The grip was firm but not crushing. Captain Hyunwoo, thank you for responding to our distress call. We did not expect anyone to answer. That is why we answered. Because you did not expect it, Hyunwoo smiled slightly. My chief engineer tells me your reactor is completely dead. We will need time to assess if it can be repaired or if we need to arrange a tow to the nearest station. How long will this take? Many hours. Perhaps days. But you are safe now. We have extended our life support to your ship. Your people can breathe easy. Velrith felt something break inside him, some wall he had built to stay strong for his crew. Why? Forgive my bluntness, but why are you helping us? We have nothing to offer you. We cannot pay you. We are strangers to your people. Hyunwoo looked genuinely confused by the question. You sent a distress call. We answered. Is this not what civilized people do? Before Velrith could respond, alarms blared from a nearby corridor. The bridge crew jumped to their stations. Over the intercom came a Talvexian voice screaming about a human attacking someone. Both captains ran toward the source of the commotion, followed by Hyunwoo's escort. They found a crowd gathered outside a passenger compartment. Talvexian civilians were shouting and pointing. Inside, they saw a human in uniform kneeling on the deck next to a small Talvexian child who was crying. Stand down, Velrith shouted. Everyone be calm. The human was a woman with lieutenant's insignia on her collar. She had her hands raised to show she meant no harm. At her feet was the child, clutching something small and brown. Hyunwoo stepped forward. Lieutenant Jiwon, report. The woman stood and saluted. Sir, I found this child wandering alone in the corridor. She was lost and scared. I gave her a piece of chocolate from my personal rations to calm her down. I was trying to find her parents when everyone started yelling. The child's mother pushed through the crowd and scooped up her daughter, backing away from the human while keeping her eyes locked on Jiwon. The little girl held up the chocolate. Mama, the human gave me candy. She was nice. The mother stared at the chocolate, then at the human officer, then at her daughter. Slowly, very slowly, she bowed her head. Thank you. Thank you for finding her. Jiwon smiled and bowed back. She is safe. That is all that matters. The crowd dispersed slowly, the fear not gone but changed into confusion. Humans were not supposed to be kind. They were not supposed to give children candy. They were not supposed to help people they had never met for no reason at all. Later, as the repairs continued, Talvexian civilians began to watch the humans with curiosity instead of terror. They saw Engineer Tae-young patiently teaching Corvus how to repair a plasma conduit. They saw Medical Officer Dr. Bo-ra treating a Talvexian elder's chronic pain with gentle hands and soft words. They saw Marines helping move supplies and making small jokes that the translation devices struggled to convert. In the ship's mess hall, human crew members shared their food with hungry Talvexians. Strange Earth dishes that tasted odd but filled empty stomachs. An off-duty human pilot taught Talvexian children a simple clapping game from her home world, and their laughter echoed through corridors that had held only fear hours before. On the bridge, Captain Velrith stood beside Captain Hyunwoo and watched the sensor displays showing both ships linked together. "The stories about your people," he said quietly. "They are not true, are they?" Hyunwoo considered the question. "Some are true. Humans are capable of great violence when necessary. We did fight terrible wars. We did create weapons that could destroy our world. But we also learned from those mistakes. We learned that strength without compassion is just cruelty. That civilization is measured by how we treat those who need help. You came all this way for strangers." "Yes, and we would do it again." Hyunwoo turned to face the Talvexian captain. "You are not strangers anymore." The diplomatic vessel moved through the darkness of space like a silver needle threading through black cloth. Inside the ship, Commander Tae-young Kim stood at the bridge window and watched the massive station grow larger with each passing moment. The Galactic Council's headquarters looked like a floating city made of crystal and metal, glowing with lights from 1,000 different worlds. Tae-young felt his chest tighten. This was humanity's last chance. 50 years of trying, 50 years of being told no, 50 years of proving that humans could be peaceful, and still the galaxy refused to accept them. Behind him, Dr. Hana Choi checked her datapad for the 100th time. She was a small woman with tired eyes and hands that never stopped moving. For 10 years, she had written proposals, made presentations, and begged the Council to give humanity a chance. She believed in peace more than anyone Tae-young had ever met. "The proposal is perfect," Tae-young said quietly. "Stop worrying." Hana looked up at him and tried to smile. "I always worry. It's my job." Lieutenant Ji-ho Park sat at the communication station, his young face bright with hope. "Sir, the Council has confirmed our docking time. 2 hours until the presentation." Tae-young nodded. 2 hours until they learned if humanity would finally join the galactic community or remain forever isolated. He thought about his family, lost in what the galaxy called the border skirmishes. Pirates, they said. But Tae-young knew better. Someone wanted humans gone from space, and the Council did nothing to stop it. The ship docked with a soft thud. Ambassador Min-ho-yoon met them at the airlock. He was an older man with gray hair and a diplomatic smile that never quite reached his eyes. He had spent 30 years on this station, representing Earth to species that looked at him like he was an interesting insect. "The relics are going to be a problem," Minho said as they walked through the curved corridors. Alien beings of every shape and size moved past them. Some had scales, others had fur, and some looked like they were made of living crystal. None of them met the human's eyes. "The relics are always a problem," Hana replied. The relics were a warrior race, tall and covered in red armor-like skin. They held enormous power in the Council, and had made it very clear that they thought humans were too dangerous to be allowed in civilized space. The Council chamber was a massive circular room with seats rising up in tiers. Hundreds of representatives from 12 different species sat watching as the humans entered. Tae-young felt their stares like physical weight. He kept his back straight and his face calm. The presentation began. Hana spoke with passion about what humanity could offer: shared technology, cultural exchange, new perspectives on old problems. Earth had developed clean energy that could help dying worlds. Human doctors had found cures for diseases that plagued several Council species. Humanity wanted to be partners, not conquerors. The Council listened in silence. When Hana finished, she looked around the chamber with hope in her eyes. The Relic's prime speaker stood up. He was enormous, nearly 8 feet tall, with glowing yellow eyes. His voice boomed through the chamber. "Humanity is a species of violence. Your history is written in blood. You have had over 500 wars on your own planet. You created weapons capable of destroying your entire world. And you want us to believe you have changed?" Tae-young felt his jaw clench. We have changed. We have had peace on Earth for over 200 years. Peace on your world, perhaps, another representative called out. But what about the incidents in neutral space? The conflicts with mining operations? The aggressive expansion? Those were defensive actions, Hana said, her voice rising. Our colonies were attacked. We had every right to protect our people. But the council had already made up their minds. One by one, the representatives voted. The result was unanimous. Humanity's application was denied. Again. Tae-young watched Minho's face fall. The old ambassador had believed this time would be different. They all had. As they prepared to leave, a group of relics approached them in the corridor. The leader sneered at Minho. Your species will never be civilized enough for us. Go back to your tiny planet and stop pretending you belong among the stars. What happened next occurred in seconds. One of the relics pushed Minho. The old man stumbled backward. His head struck the metal wall with a sickening crack. He fell to the ground and didn't move. Tae-young rushed to him, but he already knew. Minho's eyes stared at nothing. Blood pooled beneath his head. It was an accident, the relic said, backing away. He fell. Security arrived within minutes. They barely looked at Minho's body. An unfortunate accident, the security chief declared. These things happen. Tae-young stood slowly. His hands were covered in Minho's blood. He looked at the relics, at the security officers, at the council representatives who had gathered to watch. He saw no remorse, no justice, only contempt. This was murder, he said quietly. It was an accident, the security chief repeated. You should leave now. Back on the ship, Tae-young stood in the shower and watched Minho's blood wash down the drain. His hands shook with rage that he had kept buried for years. All the peaceful attempts, all the diplomacy, all the times humans had swallowed their pride and kept trying. Hana found him in his quarters an hour later. She had been crying. I've been going through the data we collected during our stay. Tae-young, I found something terrible. She showed him the evidence on her data pad. Hidden transmissions, coded messages, records that had been carefully erased but not carefully enough. The council knew about the attacks on human colonies. More than knew. Some council members had ordered them. The pirates were mercenaries hired to drive humans out of space. They've been killing us, Hana whispered. All this time while we begged for peace, they've been killing our people. Tae-young looked at the evidence. Hundreds of dead colonists, families destroyed, children orphaned. All part of a plan to make humanity give up and go home. He opened a secure channel to Earth Command. His face appeared on the screen before the High Council of Earth. 50 representatives from every nation and colony looked back at him. They killed Ambassador Minho, he said. They've been killing our people for years. They will never accept us. They want us gone. The High Council listened as he presented the evidence. They saw Minho's death report marked as an accident. They saw the proof of the conspiracy. They saw how the galaxy truly felt about humanity. The vote took 3 hours. When it was done, the Secretary General addressed Tae-young directly. Come home, Commander. It's time to stop asking for peace. They've made their choice. Now we make ours. Tae-young turned his ship toward Earth. Behind him, the council station grew smaller until it disappeared among the stars. He thought about Minho, about his family, about every human who had died while Earth tried to be civilized. The galaxy had rejected humanity's friendship. They had mocked Earth's attempts at peace. They had murdered an ambassador and called it an accident. Tae-young smiled, but there was no warmth in it. The galaxy was about to learn something important about humans. They were capable of great peace. They were also capable of something else. The ship jumped to faster than light speed, and the stars streaked past like tears in the fabric of space.